November 20th meeting of the City Commission of Big Rapids, Michigan. The roll call, please.
Epley.
Here.
Gunther.
Here.
James.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Simmon.
Here.
If we could all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The minutes, the agenda, Mark, have we changed anything on the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
The approval of the minutes from the November 13th meeting.
Support.
Questions, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. No special orders today. Study session, we have two. One is our Clay Cliffs Committee's presentation, and the second is the library update. Lauren, would you like to go first so you can go home and see the family?
Sure.
Have at it, Lauren.
Do you need the screen? Or will it just go on the back? How do I do this? Read aloud. Okay, so I have a bunch of statistics from a few years ago, but it's in a nice graph, so I brought that for everybody to look at. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it because we're gonna move on, but you can see here, there's a steep cliff in which everything falls off. That's COVID. But now we're out of that, and you'll see the improvement in the following years. We're going to move to the pictures of some of the programs that we've done. The completed playground. We have a baby that was involved in our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. This was one of the summer reading programs that we had this past year, and that was the John Ball Zoo. And we had over 400 people at that program in the park next to the library. Some of our winners of summer reading prizes here. And this is called a Tony box. Is everybody familiar with the Tony box? This is show and tell now. So this is a Tony box. We have 6 of them at the library, and they come with figurines. You turn them on by pressing its ear.
Brown Bear and Friends by Bill Martin Jr. with illustrations by Eric Carl. Read for you by Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. So the Tony boxes
Brown bear, what do you see?
are screen free. It stops when you take the magnetic figurine off of the top. In order to advance the story, you hit one side of the box, or you can go back. You adjust the volume by the large ears up and the small ears down. So this is something that the Friends of the Library agreed to invest in for the library. And you can check one of these out and bring it home, and up to 6 of the figurines. So it's an alternative for kids that are, or for parents that are looking for some screen-free activities. They don't want them on the iPad. They don't want them to have their own phone to listen to audiobooks. So we have Tonys.
That's cool.
Now, these are the statistics from this year. just a little breakdown of some of the new things we have. We had hotspots, laptops. I brought with me today Vox Books, which was a donation from the Library of Michigan. So the state purchased a collection for us. And these items are a picture book, but it comes attached to a little audiobook player that you can turn on. Did anybody have, when they were little, like a cassette tape, and you would put it on and it would say, turn the page after the chime? I had one with Indiana Jones.
Vox Books are books that talk. Vox Publishing presents All Are Welcome by Alexandra Pinfold. As you listen to this book, you will hear this sound. When it's time to turn the page. Now turn the page and let's start reading.
I'm not gonna do the whole thing. So, this is another thing, another tool that can be used for people that are maybe struggling readers. You could use it with someone that's learning English as a second language, or even parents that might have literacy issues. And they're very expensive, so we're glad that the state donated a collection to the library. But these are also available to be checked out.
How many languages are available?
There's a few, but we only have Spanish.
Okay.
One of the other things that we started this year is Creative Bug, which is an online database of craft videos. So you can go with your library card and log on, and there are all kinds of different videos that you can do. No, that's not it. That's the secret portal. So you can see many classes on here that you can take advantage of, and they have step-by-step instructions along with a list of all of the material that you will need to create the project, and they have thousands and thousands of those available. So you can log on to that with your library card. Last year, we broke the $1 million mark in terms of saving money using the library. So that is how much people saved during fiscal year 22-23. Over $1 million by using the library. Creative Bug, we have scavenger hunts each month at the library, which are very popular with younger children, and they will go around, and each month there's a different theme. They find all of the items on the scavenger hunt and then turn it in for a prize. We have done Lit Loot, which is sort of like a subscription box for books. And people sign up for that. They get a few library books, but then we put in some treats like some fancy bookmarks or like some hot cocoa packets. And they've really been enjoying that. Take and Make were craft kits that we put together that people can just come in and pick up all the materials to make at home. So for the statistics of last year, about 32,000 people came through the doors. We answered 18,958 questions. And that's probably on the low side because people forget to take those statistics. We had about 4,500 people come to 220 programs. And we had 41 outreach events in the community, and we talked to about 1,400 people. We have instituted automatic renewal, which is nice. People really like that. So when you check out an item, instead of having to call or renew online, it'll automatically renew it 3 times. Our circulation numbers, 57,959 physical items circulated, meaning books, DVDs, and physical material. Also 993 digital magazines on Libby. So on Libby you can access magazines, audiobooks, and ebooks. And 7,125 digital audiobooks, 9,495 ebooks, and Canopy, which is a streaming film service that we subscribe to. About 1,671 videos were watched. So library cards, we got 862 new cards last year and 1,041 renewed cards. Cards are good for 2 years, and so that's kind of on a rotating basis. We've been involved in some public health initiatives, and we distributed over 392 COVID tests. Also Narcan, we've given out about 116 boxes of Narcan since we put the box in the lobby. We had extensive mental health first aid training, therapy dogs came to the library, and we also had a suicide prevention awareness training. And more, there's so much more. I can't fit it all in. 14 Phelps Little Free Libraries. We had a great project this year with artworks as well as Restore Habitat for Humanity. They built the Little Free Libraries and then Artworks decorated them. So you can see those around town. We have a map online. You can just go and pick up a free book. Our community garden was revitalized with help from the GFWC and a bunch of sponsors. So they built, and the Boy Scouts built a beautiful, beautiful raised beds in the community garden, and we're gonna be using that to implement programming next year. The literacy playground is complete. Our seed library is thriving, and people are checking out, they can check out up to 10 packets of seeds each year. We have science adventure kits. I brought one. So this is something that they can check out, and it has binoculars in it, it has instructions. We have board games that you can check out at the library. And we have a bunch of free databases through mel.org that you can utilize. This is another collage of some of the programs that we had this year. The best one, obviously, with the owls. The owls were cool. And they also dissected owl pellets. They went and visited public safety and did story times with the fire department and the police department. They learned about bees. We had a bunch of people complete 1,000 books before kindergarten. And you can use your library card to actually get tickets to different places around Michigan. It's called the Michigan Activity Pass, and there's more information on that on our website. We've also joined with many other libraries around Michigan and their cooperatives to give access to more Libby books and materials. So all of the different libraries around Michigan combine their collections, and you have access to that with your library card. Okay, that's it.
Lauren, look, if I read it all right, your visits hit the lowest spot during the middle of COVID, and now you're up to 37,000 this last 22. Is that what it said?
Oh yeah, it's definitely rebounded significantly.
Yeah, from like 20 all the way to
Yeah.
37 already.
It's still, we're still working up to pre-COVID numbers, but this year was the first time that we had in-person programming, so a lot of that is still sort of coming back.
Great. Questions, Commission?
Very impressive. My daughter loves going to the library, so you guys are doing fantastic work.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Public questions for Lauren?
Thanks, everybody. Go get your library card.
Next, the study session on the Clay Cliffs Community Project.
Okay. Hello. I'm Logan Wise, adjunct professor at Ferris for these lovely students. And over the last course of the semester, we've spent some time digging into a project for you guys that you brought to us. So you've charged us to tackle the Clay Cliffs Trailhead Pool House project. It's a pretty large project, but we're going to be very cautious about time today, try and get through this. But so we were granted permission with the existing drawings that the students had access to. And with those existing drawings, the students basically recreated digitally the pool house from scratch. And I also charged them to do a proposal for the Clay Cliffs. If I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Clay Cliffs area, somewhat underutilized, could be better maintained. But I split the project up into 3 parts. Part 1 was documentation, part 2 was the group proposal, and part 3 was the individual. Unfortunately, due to time, we're just going to do 1 and 2, which is perfectly fine. Part 2 of the proposal is the real project, so that's going to be what you're going to be seeing today. I tasked the students with proposing for the city a somewhat realistic proposal that could possibly be implemented in the next couple of years. For the pool house, we met with the stakeholders, and you guys were very helpful in providing direction and feedback. And so the students met with you, interviewed you, and created some more realistic proposals. There were some talks about budget. I intentionally told the students to push budget a little bit farther. So this exercise is more of a show and tell of possibilities. Nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing too outrageous, but stuff that might be a little bit gun shy, but hopefully will spark some meaningful conversation about the future of the Clay Cliffs and the pool house projects. So part 1, I divided the students into 2 architectural firms. Of those 2 firms, they had to do some documentation, so they had to do some civil work, some architectural design work, and some historical and cultural work for the city of Big Rapids. So those 2 firms then had to create a proposal, which I then separated them into 4 design groups. And that's who's going to be presenting today, is 4 design groups who presented their own individual proposals on how to utilize both the Clay Cliffs and the pool house together. So we're going to start with project 2, part 2, proposal. We're going to start with group 1, Becker, Benita, and David. We're going to try and be around 10 minutes per person. They're going to be cruising. They did so much content for this project, a ton of work. We're happy to show it for you guys, but the speed, we're going to try and be there for you guys to get through it. But after that 10 minutes, I'm going to be sitting there keeping time, give them some warnings. After the 10 minutes, we can have some questions per group, and then we'll cycle through the next group. Let's get started.
So while he's setting up, my name is Benita, and this is Becker. And we're gonna start showing you guys what we have. Okay. So this is, you go to the next one. So our goal for this project was really to better connect the pool house, the community pool, with the Clay Cliff. And then also making sure that we emphasize accessibility. And then meeting some of the needs that you guys let us know that you guys were interested in. You continue.
Here we just have some current images of the Clay Cliffs area. This is just kind of giving you an idea of how we have a rundown bridge. We kind of have narrow paths. It's not well kept in some areas, and it's difficult to accept to ADA requirements. Like you couldn't get a wheelchair through most of this. You couldn't, if anyone has any type of physical element, it would be difficult for them through us. These are more current images of the pool house itself. We highlighted areas where we are going to try to show you some change in ideas. This is some exterior photos of the current, and this is also where we're implementing some major architectural moves on the outside.
So this, you guys let us know that ADA compliancy was important for you guys' restroom. So our floor plan shows that, and then also that there was a need for family-friendly restrooms. So you know those coming down with little ones, and then doing what they need to do. You can go to the next one. And okay, and then so you guys also had a need for wayfinding for those that are new or it's their first time going there, so they're not getting lost and they can easily find their way back, especially when it starts getting a little later in the day. And then just a better connection between the community pool and the clay cliff. Even though they are close together, there's not really a path really connecting the two.
Here is a current site plan of the area, and the highlighted areas are areas where we're making a major change. On the left, we are going to have the current floor plan and the site plan, and on the right, we are having our proposed, where you can see some jut outs and some exterior moves being made. Those exterior moves being highlighted here and going into it.
So one of the exterior moves that are being made, so this is pretty much the outside of the family restrooms, and because as soon as you walk out, if we did put a doorway there, the pool's there, the deep end, and so we needed to make sure that there was a wall there just for protection, and then just making that a fun path for the kids to experience while they're walking out, but their safety is still there. And then this is how that would look. So this is the deep end of the pool, and you can kind of see the paths, two different paths over there. And so these two paths, one is going to the pool house, and then the other with the clay cliff trail. And then when you see these people gathered, we're actually proposing like an eating area for that. So it's not just for those that are using the pool house, but also those that might just be coming just for the clay cliff trail area. And so this is just like a little menu. The menu could be anything. It could be water, it could be ice cream in a freezer, or maybe pizza or anything. And then this is just people enjoying that outside area. So these are elevations.
Looking at our first floor plan, this is kind of showing areas that we've demoed, being the exterior, like partition, exterior kind of like privacy walls that for the, both the male and female locker rooms. And then we are also demoing the checker station that is currently located in the middle. We're going to be demoing a wall that is currently in a restroom on the female locker room side and extending it. And we are also demoing a wall in the upper left-hand corner that is going to be an extension for a kitchen. Here is our proposed floor plan. And the reason for the kitchen was because you guys said in the interviews that you wanted to make it so that if after a long day in the sun and heat that someone could still actually go eat and be well hydrated and such, but you wanted to make sure that it was away from the pool, so we were mindful of that. And this connection, this new addition also connects you more towards the clay cliffs, as you could, as you're going to the clay cliffs, stop by, get a snack, and continue on, kind of promoting a sense of connection there in a sense. Here we have a circulation plan just showing the movement between the locker rooms and the new, highlighting green, the new paths of what families could take through the new family restrooms located in the bottom. And how the paths also keep you away from what would be the deep end and view you towards the shallow end for kids' safety. Here is program diagram of what space, it's color coded for what spaces are being, where they are located and such. Here is a square footage diagram in the center. This is showing what has been unchanged, which was only mechanical, and what we modified in some way, and the completely new addition being the sauna that was added to also just give some sense of recreation, as it gives an element for why would you go to the pool house. It just gives a sense of relaxation opportunity there. For the photos, we have we have the disturbing image of the guy in a sauna, but the idea is sort of the new lobby space, the tiling, which was a huge change from what is currently located there. It kind of shows movement through the space, with the white tile being the sense of movement and the black kind of being the most stationary space. And this is also showing where a family locker room is being placed and where families, how the circulation plan works with that. Moving into the male locker rooms, we see that we took a more open approach to it. We removed the benches, we put them off to the sidewalls, and we added the standalone lockers, and you can still see the path of movement with tile and such. And we also painted the current CMU blocks blue just to give it a more freshened up appearance and to get away from that very sterile sense of white that was currently there. Here in the shower rooms, a huge change that we needed to make was giving some privacy, because in our current images, for the male locker room especially, there was nothing. It was just a water spout, essentially. And we provided something similar to what has been seen in Planet Fitnesses, and they have the CMU privacy walls with shower curtains, just simple change. Here is a look at the female locker room. We kind of see the same scheme going on, and the same privacy measures are also being taken.
So this here is what we actually physically walk through the trail. And this is just different paths. So this blue path is more of like the ADA path. It would be like if someone needed help, or it's just easy to assess and to travel through. And so the yellow and the red would be, you have steeper slopes here, and more for a more adventurous person.
This is just kind of imagery of what that could start looking like. On the blue trail, we color-coded them for simplicity's sakes, and looking at it, we have a paved gravel, it's a crushed gravel, a crushed gravel road, and this would allow for ADA accessibility through the wheelchair, which there is an actual route that was shown in the previous slide. It would be that bottom strand of green, or if you look at the color-coded map, the blue strand right there. That is, it's a like 6 or 7 foot wide path that goes to the woods and can easily lead to where our theater proposal leads to, making it ADA accessible for all. And here on the yellow path, we're just showing the differences. And I forgot to mention that on the right, that is a night view of it, and this is where the lighting comes into play. Along each of these trails, there are bricks with lighting inside of them that is highlighting the path, so at night you can have a safe walk and not be tripping everywhere. And also it color codes the trail so you don't get lost.
And on each sign at the very top is a level of difficulty. This one was a little bit more for fun.
So our third member, Beezer, we believe that he's not here due to fighting said bear on the dangerous trail.
But on the sign, you can see that there's a bench and table, and then there's also sightseeing areas. And so we actually, those pictures in the very beginning, since we actually physically walked it, and we took pictures of places that we thought were extra beautiful. That could definitely be captured. And then just putting like benches and picnic tables along those paths so people can really enjoy it.
You want me to cut? Yeah, quickly. Okay. Our big idea, really quickly, sorry we went over time a little bit, is a theater proposal in the woods. And this, just imagine being able to walk through the woods on one of these trails that's lit up, the sun is setting, and you can start to hear the band playing off in the distance as you're walking through the woods, as you get closer and closer. And you finally enter this opening, and you see these seating areas, people already sitting down, everyone's having a good laugh, there's a play going on, anything. And other ways that you can get to it is that the trails actually line up to several of these elevated seating locations, that you can actually walk that trail and you will be led to the seating of one of those areas, which could be it could be like a whole afternoon long trip that would just be enjoyable for the family, for teenagers, anyone. And this is kind of showing where those paths would end up in the upper right. And I believe that is it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you think Clay Cliff should be open after dusk?
After,
Yeah.
after dusk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I think that with an idea of a theater proposal, it could be a very unique experience that could label Big Rapids and put it on, not necessarily a map, but be a symbol of, hey, that's a reason to go to Big Rapids.
Especially if there's appropriate lighting, for safety, especially. But, those seating areas and those benches, I think it definitely could be an asset, for sure.
Thank you. Others? Thank you. Very nice.
Trying.
Alright, so here is our proposal, 106 Hutchinson Street.
So this is our original site plan for the pool house. Nothing has changed the same, so we're just documenting what is already pre-existing.
And then these are the existing floor plans, like Professor mentioned before, just to show precedent. And then this is our demolition plan. Everything that's highlighted in red, we are proposing to demolish and get rid of, just for accessibility reasons and privacy reasons. And then this will be our proposed lower level floor plan. As you can notice, as you enter into the main lobby area, there's a new reception desk for easier check-ins. And then we added 2 family locker rooms for the privacy of families that is needed. And we also added more lockers and actual lockers into the locker rooms. And we also added ADA accessible restrooms and shower stalls in both men's and women's locker rooms. And then going up to our second floor plan, we have a proposed observation desk. This is for parents who are wanting to go inside during like swimming lessons or something. That way they can observe the entire pool.
So just taking a look, we're going to kind of walk you through the building and the changes that we've made. So just here from the entryway, you can see we kind of pulled that out and added a shaded entry to make it a little bit more prominent and noticeable from the parking lot. Just a couple of materials that we've used listed across the bottom. And then
Moving into the main space, this is our main lobby and multi-purpose area. One of the big changes that we have implemented is a vaulted ceiling, so we took that suspended drop ceiling and moved it up. We added the reception desk as Sam had introduced and kind of made it a little more airy space, more natural light. Some of the materials that we have is the epoxy flooring. We did add a gypsum wallboard cover over the pre-existing CMU, and then all of the hardwood for the ceiling.
And then that big grand observation deck that Sam had previously mentioned. This is just a look from the pool side. As you can see, there is a large panoramic window that will overlook the pool. And here's a secondary view, so you can tell that there's a little bit of an overhang. It provides some shade for families that are on the pool deck, as well as from the interior. It will provide shade, as well as just a nice cool breeze while the kids are taking their swim lessons or swimming. Parents can be hanging out with the younger kids or whichever. And then that's just going to continue those same materials that we had in the lower portion of the main lobby.
Alright, and here is our updated locker room space. As you can see, we got that privacy for the shower stalls and changing rooms, and also what we did with the lockers is create this kind of like little locker cubbies just for added privacy. And just some of the materials, you can see we got water resistant gypsum board, ceramic tile flooring, easy to clean. And as well for like the wet areas, we have a raised wet area tile just for anti-slip purposes. And as we've been taking you through the whole building, this shows kind of like the circulation one might see. Overall, it doesn't change a whole lot with the exception of that new observation deck.
And then here are just some elevations of our proposal, highlighting our new proposed entrance overhang, our observation deck, and then some of the new materials that we are proposing just to give the building more of a vibrant look.
And then jumping into our Clay Cliffs nature area proposal. We do have a site plan and we did update it a little bit. The dotted markings show where the trails are. We had someone from our civil team that we had broken up into walk the trails, so those are pre-existing, as well as some spots that we will highlight a little bit later. And then one of our proposals was to create a new Clay Cliffs trail sign, something that's just a little more noticeable from the road as well as from the pool house. And the materials that we used, we did pull from the pool house to kind of bring that connection from the trails to the pre-existing building.
And here is our Clay Cliff updated bridge. Simple yet effective. We're pulling those same materials from the signage as well as the pool house just to create that, further emphasize that connection.
And then, so we did implement some new signage, both educational and navigational. This is our navigational one. So the one on the left would be posted at the trailheads. This would show a map of the locations of scenic points, and then our educational hub, which we will discuss. And then the smaller one will be posted throughout the trails to let some of the users know that they are on the right path, that they are on Clay Cliffs trails.
All right, and here's one of our big ideas for the Clay Cliffs Trail. This education hub kind of creates this one-stop shop for the youth to kind of come, learn about the area, you know, like species, like flower type, animals. And it's a relatively simple design, like curvilinear walls to kind of like cut through the trees. Like a big idea was not to like impose on nature, kind of rather blend with it.
And then as Jarrett just introduced the educational hub, these would be some of our postings that we would have to talk about the flora and fauna, and the design kind of ties in with our navigational signage so they'd be cohesive throughout the area.
And then this navigational signage will also tie into a adventure zip line throughout the trails. As you can see in this, on the left-hand side, there's some signage, so as you're up within the trees, you can look over at the native species and everything and learn a little bit. So here's just kind of a couple of views. Here on the right-hand side, we have a precedent, kind of the vibe we were going for, and then on the left, just as Jared had mentioned, we're kind of going to do the same thing and not disturb what's already there. We're going to kind of build around it and use it to our advantage. And then here's just a little map of those zip lines throughout the trails as well as that educational hub. Thank you. Questions?
I'd ask one question. Why did you glass in the observation deck when it's in the middle of summer and it's gonna be hotter blazes behind that glass? Why did you,
The idea was so that parents would still be able to watch their children. This could create new sort of events, maybe like swimming competitions, things like that, just kind of so the parents could be in potentially the air-conditioned building while being away from out of the sun.
Air conditioning. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. It's red like that.
It's a nice place for birthday parties.
This was only like our 8th time doing this.
There it goes. My name is Luke, and this is Justin, and this is our presentation for the Charles E. Fairman Pool House. So this is the overall site, and we have a list of some of the things that the community was looking for when we were designing the new pool house. And a closer view of the existing conditions. And this is a plan of our changes that we did, listed down, and the numbers match up, and there are some highlights of the changes for ADA accessibility and for circulation. This is the current floor plan, and this is the site, how the site looks with our new proposed site plan over it. That's it with some dimensions. So for the new floor plan, we have a new lobby area with a added kitchen to it, a new checker station, and there'll be new seating in the lobby, some new circulation, and changes to the locker rooms, added showers, shower stations for privacy, and the added family rooms at the bottom. We also, our big move will be the new pergola outside that covers the shallow end of the pool, and a new roof entrance to bring people in.
And then this just kind of shows some quick material choices. We're going to kind of wrap the building in a stone veneer, kind of creates a more naturalistic look, and then we'll symbolically tie that to the trails along with that natural wood paneling that we're going to put on it. And then the roof we can keep mostly the same to kind of cut back on cost. And it also gives kind of an idea of the scale of the pergola that will be covering that pool side. And then on the right, we have just kind of a circulation plan that breaks down how people will be walking through the building. Kind of having the main walkway go through the main locker and shower rooms, and then those family rooms are shown here for those who are interested. Then we have our first kind of look at what the materials would look like in a realistic setting, along with the pergola having the shaded effect over the pool area. That entrance is going to be pulled out to kind of draw people more to the entrance. And then just more looks at the poolside pergola with some shading that can be opened or closed to allow shading on days that are really hot, and then can be opened up to allow sun on days that are not excessively warm. And then in the top left picture there, it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but there is a wall of lockers that kind of presents a boundary for those that are coming out of the family locker room to prevent them from running into that deep end right away. These are just some more features on what was there, and then the new suggested pergola. And then just kind of an image there showing the shade that could be offered with the open and closable sections.
And now we'll be looking at the changes we've made to the interior with the rendering here. This kind of shows the new circulation we're planning. This is the view from the entrance of the locker rooms into the lobby. As it currently is, the checker rooms right here, we added some benches and opened up the space for circulation. And as you can see, the kitchen and the checker room, we moved right there. And this is the view from the entrance, as you can see from the floor plan there. And there's also a view as it is now. We're proposing some seating to match with the kitchen area, just making it a more welcoming space overall. And this is a view to the left of the entrance. Down here, this is how it currently is, and this is our proposal. Just creating a space to kind of hang out inside the pool house. And these are our proposed changes to the locker rooms. This one's the women's locker room, and across the building, the men's locker room kind of mirrors this. We're proposing new lockers and new benches and the new changing booths. And at the next angle, you'll kind of see a better view of the changing stations as well as the showers. And then for our Clay Cliffs Trails recommended renovations, largely just more about raising awareness of the trails and kind of giving a sense of direction throughout. Kind of establishing our map and suggested picnic areas. Along with the little butterfly icons that you can see are suggested by our group mate who was not able to be here today, of a butterfly garden walk place that is represented in this picture here. Just kind of some easy flowers that are easier to be planted and grown and just kind of attract the butterflies to the area and just create a nice walkable path with some nice color to the trail. Along with the picnic areas, which can be very simple, just kind of picnic tables being placed there with a little bit of an open clearing, but still enjoying that very naturalistic sense of the trail. And then finally, to kind of reinforce the entrance by creating a larger bridge area that kind of draws people to it, along with a new sign that will be present there, as well as the current map being placed in a little informational area. I think that is it. Yeah, that is it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, what?
That's something to leave them on. Jeez.
That's mine.
I like that.
Why is it stated?
I'll get it. I'll get it tomorrow.
That would be deep.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not in the way. All right, guys. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. We really appreciate you taking the time for us. Welcome to the Clay Cliffs Nature and Aquatic Center. This is just kind of showing you some of the stuff that we've done to the exterior of the building. And I really just want to point your attention to the massive trailhead sign, which is actually how we will be presenting this project to you through this interactive trail map you can have outside that people can go, they can touch, they can scroll, they can get any kind of information about the building and the trails. And so we will go on to the next. This is just a site plan, and somebody could, we had a lot of interactive features that we can't do, but somebody could go and tap on that concept statement, and then they could learn more about it. And then if they wanted to learn more about the pool house, they could go ahead and tap on the pool house, and it would take them there. And so then if they wanted to explore, they could then go and explore more about the pool house, and we will then dive into the actual floor plan by tapping on the floor plan, which will just take you right here to our 4 floor plans, just kind of showing you a progression of what we did to the space. And then we're going to go ahead and learn more about our design. And so through our interview review, we had a few key takeaways. Accessibility in terms of, ADA accessibility. Family-oriented design, giving space for families to come in and utilize that space. Some system updates, it's fairly outdated, and then safety concerns. And so while working on this project, we looked through a lot of different precedents, and we actually came up with something that is starting to take over the architecture world, which is gender-neutral spaces. Gender-neutral spaces are spaces that are for all individuals. Each room is perfectly enclosed. It's an individual room, and so it doesn't matter who you are, what gender, where you come from. Everybody is in one space. And the key takeaways from that is inclusivity, so family-oriented design. Families can stay together. They don't have to be split up. Mom and dad don't have to split the kids up. Comfortability, people don't have to feel uncomfortable in those spaces. They have their own private space. And then privacy again, and then safety. And so jumping back into the floor plan, this is just your existing floor plan with that entry being in the top left, and then the 2 segregated pieces on the bottom. And then here we're showing what we're demolishing, which is pretty much the entire back half of the building. The nice thing about this is the only structural element that's being taken out is right here in the very center, and then this one as well. All of these elements do not reach the ceiling, which means we could go in there with a sledgehammer and just take them on out. And then here's just a dimension floor plan to show you the relationship between these spaces, and then our proposed floor plan of our gender neutral space. And I will go into our circulation plan just to show you a little bit more. So we didn't do anything with the entry, and we left the front half mostly untouched. You come in and we incorporated the checker space directly into the kitchen area so that people are walking directly in. And then to create a linear path, we moved the original checker space over to create a dry bathrooms that's also gender neutral, as well as utilizing the other space for an ADA accessible bathroom, and then an exterior bathroom for people who might want to use the trails. And then going into the locker room, we do have that gender neutral space, so it's one big space now. We have privacy, so we put our locker rooms right there so that you don't see people as you're walking in. And then on the top there, we have 3 family bathrooms. This is for families of 4 to 6, and then it can also incorporate people with wheelchairs or other disabilities. And then on the bottom, we have some shower stalls, which can also be utilized as changing areas. And then here we have bathrooms that have sink, toilet, and benches, and so those are also used for changing areas. And then we have designated wet bathrooms for pool patrons we retained that door, that's an original door, so that people can come in through that door. They don't have to trek through the entire bathroom. That's a designated space for pool patrons. Here we just are showing you some of those elevations with those changes. Just kind of that taking out that one door, and then we added new doors here out onto the pool deck, and we put those privacy screens for that safety concern of pushing them towards the shallow end of the pool rather than a deep end. And then we will go ahead and check out our gallery. This was kind of our very interactive part. So we'll go in and we'll look at, this is your updated lobby space. We delineated the spaces by creating separate flooring for the movement and then the static spaces. So that movement is going up to the welcome area and then over to the locker room. And then the static spaces have nice little prints on the ground to add a splash of color and just some character to the space. And then we just kind of updated it with color and then also an accent wall in the back. It's kind of hard to see, but and then the interactive part is we will scroll, so patrons could scroll and look at all these pictures. This is showing you an updated pool deck. All we did on the exterior was we painted the brick black to provide a stark background to put art or other informational things. I know we had talked about safety signs and other things that they wanted to put on the wall. And then we updated the fence to provide a more modern feel and the cabanas with it, incorporating them into the fence. And then we also included several diving platforms along the deeper end of the pool for kids to utilize and jump off of and play around with. And so we'll go back out one more time, scroll on down, and then we'll go into our locker room here. And this is just showing you that gender neutral space. Families get to stay together, and everything is enclosed all the way up to the ceiling, so it just provides that sense of privacy. And for added security, if you guys needed to, you could put cameras in these spaces because these are common spaces and all of the changing and all that stuff is happening behind closed doors. And then we just have an exterior rendering of the entire site with that sign right down there, and then some of those cabanas and our diving platforms. And then just an up-close view of those diving platforms and the cabanas. And then we'll jump back to the home menu, and then we will go into the Clay Cliffs nature area. And so here we have all of the existing trails. I actually walked all of this personally, so this is a little bit of a flex there. This is all existing, but it's a little rugged, it's kind of unkept, and so we're proposing several new trails, the first of which is going to be an inclusive trail. This is going to be made from crushed gravel or it can just be a paved trail. It's a shorter trail that goes along the river or over the river and incorporates a picnic area so people with disabilities who might not want a really long, rugged experience can still go out, have a nice picnic with their family, and then return to the pool house area. And then we have our main trail 1. This is pretty much the existing trail. Just looking at marking it, making it known to people. And then we have our second main trail, which is just a little bit longer. It takes you a little bit further back into the woods and allows you to kind of just get lost in the wilderness and really explore back there. And then here's just a sense of all of the trails, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Quinn to talk about his disc golf.
Yeah, so this is a proposed disc golf course, because I know in Big Rapids there is the disc golf course across the bridge over that way, and that's the only other like really upkept one. And so I had the idea to try to propose a disc golf course that would kind of follow the trails along the clay cliffs and kind of touch on some of the key parts of that are on the trails.
All right, and then going back, we'll learn a little bit more about our trails. We have some art and nature, so we've incorporated art pieces into the nature as you're walking along. There are pedestals where you can insert art pieces done by perhaps the community, and those can be interchangeable throughout the year. Just something that people can go look at, see, and enjoy. We have a playground, which is just off of the main trail. This incorporates natural structures, and so Crossroads Charter Academy is actually right at the end of the trail there, so this gives a great opportunity to bring kids in and they can utilize that playground and potentially, venture further into the clay cliffs. And then we just have that hike entrance, and then a picnic area, as I expressed earlier, along that ADA or inclusive route. And then a sledding hill, which is incorporated into his disc golf area. It's just a really nice, simple area that they could go sledding in, and then it helps get people out in the winter time. And then another art in nature. This is a bigger piece, and we will actually learn more about it. Sam's going to go ahead and talk more about that.
Let me go over here. Yeah, okay, so upon getting the assignment for this project, one of the biggest things I remember seeing when we walked the clay cliffs was this big open field of just ferns, and it was a lot of empty space that I knew could be utilized. So my big idea was to have it be basically like a central hub for clay cliffs. As you can see, there's archways that surround like a wishing well or something that people can go up and interact with. And there's a huge pedestal in the middle of that wishing well that might be able to showcase different art pieces that can be switched throughout the year, seasonally, different things like that. It gives also a chance for the community to maybe enter in different pieces of art and get more people to come and see things like that. And I also have attached some seating to the actual archways towards the front and then swings towards the back on those archways. So that was just a idea to get more of the community to come in, because that was a big request when we interviewed the city, was getting more people to come in. So that would be a good idea.
Perfect. And then we'll go ahead and check out our gallery one more time. And so here is just what Sam was just talking about, that kind of communal space with a bunch of flowers, just a space that you can go. It's quite deep into the trails, and so it's something you can go spend an afternoon at. And then we have another art in nature. This is kind of the hub, and then there's a little pedestal there in the middle that you could place that art, and then you can interchange that throughout the year, as I said. And then here, we just have that sledding hill, really simple sledding hill, and the disc golf is incorporated into like from the top to the bottom, pretty much. And then we have that picnic area along that inclusive route, just a nice, simple place that you can come eat lunch or just rest your feet if you need to. And then there's a lovely gentleman disc golfing in the fall. And then that natural playground that we talked about. So this is incorporated just to the right of the entrance to the trail, and just allows kids to come have fun and play. And with that, we will take you back to our postcard, and we will go ahead and flip it over, and we will say thank you.
Questions? Hearing none, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take a breath. Well, very nice work, you guys, and good with the time limit. I put that on them this morning, so they pared down and practiced and got it all through. I am not going to take nearly any time, but you kind of saw a glimpse of one proposal. We took a week, I gave them a week, to basically do anything they wanted with the clay cliffs or the pool house. You could demo the whole thing, you could put water parks in there, you could do anything. And so after doing the pool house project, they had a little bit of fun, so I just figured we'd scroll through this. A student proposed a completely eco-sanctuary, a vertical Frederick Meyer Gardens in lieu of the pool house. A student had proposed a enormous drive-in theater that's literally the size of the building. Absolutely ridiculous. A student had proposed burying the parking lot and putting in a full-blown double-decker pickleball court and connecting it with the pool house and making it more of like a clubhouse. Some beautiful images there. A student had actually proposed a water park that would die or end into the pool itself. So you hike, hit the slide all the way down to the river. Can you guys see? Absolutely ridiculous. We'll jump. Student that proposed a skate park. Everybody likes skate parks apparently, not me. Student proposed a completely re-envisioning of the pool house. Some very cool architectural moves going on here. An observation tower that doesn't have a diving board but will be used as one. Whether they like it or not. A very cool observation deck. And then to finish it off, the student proposed a very nice wedding event space along the Clay Cliffs area. Had proposed a new roof addition that kind of pointed to the Clay Cliffs itself, and a very sketchy conceptual skate park that actually used the Clay Cliffs as the skate park itself.
It's pretty steep.
It's very steep. But yeah, that's a ton of work. A ton of work went into this. Students had some fun with it. I'm sure they're glad to be done with it and on to their final project. But any final comments or questions from you guys?
I think there were ideas in each one of them that we could pull out and try to put together, because there were some great ideas. That stage, who did the stage with the seating up on the hills in 3 different ones? That would be really amazing.
No, right?
Did you get to the stage with handicap accessible?
Yes, there was actually, like, if you're looking at the pool house, just to the left of it, it looks like, I don't know why, but there's like a 7-foot trail width that can really take you. All you would need is one bridge over the river, and it will connect you to an already walked through trail that's easily ADA accessible, and you don't even have to clear out barely any trees except for like right near the river. That's it.
Who's the no gender? What would the moms think of that? Would that go, Amanda?
Yeah, because I think the idea, if I'm understanding correctly, is that any place you would be unclothing yourself is behind closed doors. It's just like if you were in like the lobby of our building is where the locker rooms are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly. Yeah.
Each space is fully enclosed. It's a room in and of itself, and so people can come in and out, and then all of the changing is happening within those rooms.
Keeps families together too.
Was the entrance having a gable on it, so you can see it's the entrance. I mean, that's just a given, isn't it? I mean, that just makes the front of the building. So there were great ideas. I think Mark will find a way to finance that whole thing.
I'm rooting for the water park.
Oh my God.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are we? You're free to go. Yeah, don't go. It's longer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like a roller coaster. Get up to the seats. I couldn't get to the seats. Thank you. Next, we're on the agenda is public comment not related to items on the agenda. I'm opening this up to the public for 5 minutes each. Anybody who would like to speak?
Yes, please.
Please. Hi.
Good evening, Commissioners. Wow, that's a tough act to follow, let me tell you. I'm here for reasons. First of all, I want to thank the city for their participation with the township. The city's assistance, we solicited funds for a renovation project at the cemetery. And whereas we did not have enough funds to renovate the old brick building, we chose to spend the money on the entrance to the cemetery. So this week, we erected, with Cook's Welding's help, a replication of an original sign that was at the cemetery entrance that's absolutely gorgeous. So if you get a chance to drive by, we're not finished. We have some more work to do on the pillars, but, yeah, it's so exciting. It's absolutely beautiful. The other reason that I'm here tonight is because about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Paul Bullock came to the township meeting. He presented to the township the feasibility of whether or not the township would be willing to partner with Goshen for both our water and our sewer. We were surprised that he had come to us, but we were willing to consider it. They invited us to a roundtable. So 2 trustees and myself went to the roundtable. I believe, Mark, you were there.
Mayor was there.
You were there as well. There was representation from the Right Place. The Right Place had an engineer there. There was also an engineer from Fleece and Vanderbrink. Jim Chapman was there. To the best of my recollection, that's who all, that's who all was there. Anyway, we talked about a lot of different options. Mostly they were concerned on whether or not the township would be willing to participate with them supplying our water and sewer. However, the more we asked, the more questions we asked, we just got empty answers. They couldn't tell us what the flow would be for water, how much water they were going to use. They couldn't tell us how much sewer they were going to use. They talked about putting in a pre-treatment plant, but yet they had no specs, they had no drawings, they had nothing to give us no concrete documentation of, yes, this was what was going to be done, and therefore we could make a educated decision. The water flow went from the moon and back, and then back someplace up, and they were going to be recycling the water, but yet there was still no documentation how they were going to recycle it. They just left us with more answers, or more questions than answers. So the reason why we went to the meeting is because the 3 of us were going to take the information back to our board to consider whether or not this was something we wanted to do. But we went back to the board with so many unanswered questions that we couldn't feasibly make a decision on whether or not we should do that. Somewhere prior to that meeting, we were made aware of the fact that some representation from Goshen, I don't know if it was the Right Place or who, had contacted the city about the city's ability to supply the water and sewer to the property. So that was also in the back of our mind. Why are they asking us if they're making other plans? I guess the bottom line is this community has suffered one heck of a blow. It has torn us apart. Our families, our friends, our businesses. We need closure here. We need some closure. The township has not taken a public stance on whether or not they would or would not supply the water and sewer. We just did not address it. We left it open-ended. That was wrong on our part. We need closure. I would beg the city to come forward with any information they have in regards to this so the community can move forward. Please, can you offer something? Where does this say, where do you stand?
The Goshen had come to the city requesting water, and it ranged from 1 million gallons a day to 500,000 gallons a day, and that's what they came to us with. Well, now that's all been withdrawn, and they have basically stopped the feasibility study because their water demand has gone down to the point where probably a simple well would do the trick. Though that information comes from engineering firms that are now finally working for Goshen. And until then, we had no firm numbers, just as you didn't. We'd hear a number here and a number there, and that's why we really didn't act on anything ourselves either. We've spent no money on water systems or even engineering them.
So they went from needing a water tower to now they just need a well.
We don't know. We just hear these things. We have never had a Goshen engineer come and present to this commission, ever.
So you were like we were.
Precisely.
We were negotiating with nobody on the other side of the table. Thank you.
That's where we are too. We're not gonna knee-jerk react to anything anymore unless it's a certified engineer hired by Goshen to tell us. No in between this or that. Would you agree with that, Mark? Where do you?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we've heard a wide variety of different types of flows on both water and sewer. And we, as you know, our contracts with the townships require a feasibility study on the wastewater side based on amount and flow. That had been requested by Green Township. The last call I had was from Jim Chapman asking whether or not that was actually needed, because they had thought they had reduced their flows by a lot. I said, I don't think we'll entertain anything until we have some official numbers on some sort of letterhead or document, which is basically what the mayor's saying. So, yeah, we need some official numbers, which I believe they're working on, but I have not seen any of those, not to date.
So we're not acting on anything. We've had the same frustration that you do when we ask it. The range is huge. Now the wastewater numbers are shrinking, and we're no longer waiting to hear anything.
So until you see a pretreatment program in place on site.
Right.
Thank you for that.
I wish we had information. We don't. Anybody else from the commission have a comment to the Big Rapids Township Board? Anyone?
Thanks for coming today.
Yes.
That was very exciting.
It was kind of fun, wasn't it?
It was.
Other public comment unrelated to items on the agenda, please. Public. Please.
Hi. I was here last week and I was just wondering if there was any update about the homeless, like showers or anything to move forward towards that.
Film and mark on our meetings.
I think the short answer, Chris, is no. And I'm not speaking I can't speak for the city commission. That's not my role, right? I do what they direct me to do, and then that direction flows downhill to other staff members. There has been a great deal of conversation about issues that you frankly had brought to the forefront in the public discussion. Not that they were never there before, but they're there now. And here's the problem as I see it. There is a lot of sympathy and a lot of caring. And I have a lot of it myself, I can tell you that. You and your fiance, as to my understanding, are choosing not to be at the homeless shelter. Is that true?
As of right now, yes, because we left because of the issues that arose.
Right, but it's your choice. And at the homeless shelter, they offer services, right? They offer showers.
Yes, they offer you a 10-minute shower, which is unreasonable for people that are outside.
I understand, but the services that you're requesting the community to duplicate are at the homeless shelter.
We're asking not for shelter for those at the shelter. We're asking for other options besides of OBK because you're technically supposed to be having access to those things without having to go to places where you're feeling like you're being degraded and treated without dignity and respect. And, we don't have to be forced to accept those types of things when we're seeking out shelter, housing, and, stability.
I think we understand that. But you're choosing not to go there for a variety of reasons, right?
Yes.
Which you just spoke of.
Yeah, and they kick you out for, anything that they say at the last minute. And during the winter, you don't want to face that being told to get out and, because they choose that they don't really like you. You know what I mean? They have the ability to say, oh, well, I just don't like you here, and start to nitpick until you leave or get kicked out. That's the things that's happening. That's why it's not the city's fault that the things are happening at the OBK. That's why I'm as well going to the OBK board meeting as well to bring up the topic to the presidents and the people who operate OBK.
Well, I will see you there, but my alone point is, the community is left confronting your choices.
Not only my choices. I'm not doing this just for me. This is for
Right.
other people who are outside who have been kicked out and banned from the property who can't even return. These people don't have access to showers. They don't have access to store their personal property. And they don't have access to a place to be without being told by police that they are, trespassing on private property or public spaces where we are actually supposed to have access to public spaces.
These are very hard discussions, and I don't need to keep talking about them. But I think your asks are big asks. Those are big asks. They might not come across that way, but public shower system that we don't have, a public locker system that we don't have.
And that's why we're coming to you and asking you to.
I'm just telling you, those are heavy lifts. Those are big asks. They're not easy, and those would be. This group would have to tell me how they want to handle those. But I think we're struggling.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You gotta remember, Chris, we represent people, and right now, a lot of my constituents are not in favor of doing anything to help the homeless. So this group has to look at their constituents and say, do you want us to do something or not? That's what all the people sitting here are doing, taking the poll of their people. And if the people that voted them in don't want them helping you, you're not gonna get helped. That's the truth of the matter. Mark? I don't know which way it'll go, but it takes the city a long time to move too, Chris. We don't move fast.
I understand, but I feel like that if the city could get a jump on the things right now ahead of time, before the problem exacerbates, and then we have people who are dying and things like that out here, then that falls upon the city because you're telling me that you're not gonna do nothing to help human beings who are stuck living outside.
Okay, time's up. Thank you, Chris. Next on the agenda, no public hearing, no business. We're going to a work session. Because we're small, can we do it in this format, or do you wanna move?
I don't have a PowerPoint or anything to put on the slide. I can go get one if you want it on the screen. Otherwise, you guys have the packets and I have extra maps.
Not move. I think we're fine there. Go ahead, as you wish.
Alright, if anyone in the public wants any maps, we go. So we've been struggling with the census data for a while now, and in 2000, between 2020 and 2010, the city lost 2,852 people according to the census. But the census was also done right after Ferris shut down for COVID, which we all believed at the time was the reasoning for our number dropping significantly. So the map before you presents the information from 2020 to 2010 by block group. So the census puts all the information out by block group, and you have to kind of maneuver through tables to figure it out. So this is a map showing the difference, and as you can see, the darker the blue, the more people were missing. So, like, the section where the housing commission is has 177 different. So there was 177 less people counted in that block group in 2020 than in 2010. Is that making sense? Okay. It's squirrely sometimes, going back and forth. So as you can see, yes, they missed a significant amount in Ferris, but and some of the surrounding block groups, but there is also misses other places in the community that have apartment complexes or group housing.
Where the kids live. The kids went home.
I mean, yeah, some of it could be where kids are, but some of it could also be people just were told not to answer their door because COVID was going on and you don't need to be in contact with people. And so they didn't respond and they didn't do the mail flyers. So now we're stuck with this number that's costing us a significant amount of money every year in our allocations and MDOT funding. We worked prior to my arrival on getting a group quarters change.
I can jump in there, Michelle,
yeah,
if that's helpful. Yeah, we've been through the ringer on this, and we had a meeting once, the mayor and I at least, maybe there were others, who met with the state demographer, Jacqueline Butler, who recommended or pointed it out to us that there was an appeal process that the census was offering called the Post-Census Group Quarters Review. And we applied. We applied last February, had to have it in by February 1st. And the thought was that we were told that would then change some set of numbers that comes from the census to the state, and they update them on July. So if we applied by February and were approved, in July, these numbers would change. We applied, we were approved. The nuance to that is maybe in a letter that's in here, that comes from the Census Bureau saying that you're approved. They don't say what you're approved for, and they say that it's something about that Title 13 or something restricts their ability to share the information. Is that, I don't know if I had the right title, but in essence, it's cryptic. Since what I have found out in numerous attempts to try to run this down is, there's the state financial wing and the census, the U.S. Census Bureaus are sort of two ships passing in the night, even though one relies on the other for payment, for distribution of funds. Their communication is almost non-existent that I can tell. Now, I will qualify that in saying I have a meeting set up for next week with Jacqueline, Eva Cole, who's from the State Finance Office, a number of other people. Mayor, I forwarded that invite to you, and I would be happy to forward it to anybody else, to really try to nail that down, because we were approved for our post-census review. It has not been, and basically it doesn't appear that that's going to change anything.
At the federal level.
At the state.
At the state level.
That's the state.
The state uses census numbers to distribute funds for revenue sharing, both for roads and for just general funds.
Basically, nobody knows how the quarters data will be sent to the state.
Yeah.
And Mark, how many different agencies have you called?
Oh, countless, yeah, and
on and on.
Right, and I'm not done trying. I'm just saying our payments haven't changed, and it doesn't appear they're going to.
Have we got a second payment yet?
We have, and it's still based on that 7,000
So
number.
the second payment was no better than the first.
Yeah.
What about our friend at Ferris?
Dan,
Yes.
Yeah,
Is he-
well, this is, and Commissioner, I'm glad you brought that up. You suggested that to me the other day, and it's a good suggestion. The mayor has had the same sort of suggestion.
Politics.
Yeah, it's using, can we push the right buttons politically to change it? And maybe, I don't know.
Well, and where I'm coming from is not even change it, but just find the right.
Yes.
Well, I think
Send.
yes.
When's the meeting?
I think I have it on my calendar, Mayor.
So
It's
if nothing
next week.
happens there, I think that Dave Porteous, our attorney for Goshen negotiations, knows the governor personally. And I think we should pull out all stops. He can call her, and I can call the guy from Reed City, Nick
Engel.
Nate Engel.
Dan, we could call Dan. We
just have to just do
Have
it.
we talked to Dan at all?
I
yet?
haven't brought this, well, maybe not recently. I haven't talked to him about it.
I feel like calling the governor is a nuclear option.
That's the nuclear option. That's the last option. But he has her ear.
But, when is the meeting at, Mark? If you would
I'll
forward
forward
me
it
the
to everybody.
invitation.
We have to be
I'd
careful,
love
Mark,
it.
if we have more than two commissioners
That's-
there,
that's
Tammy
true.
has to
Well,
post it.
I was
Don't
on
go
the
over two.
committee, and I'm happy to continue to stay on the committee.
I have the date and Michelle.
The thing, Michelle, that I was gonna bring up to you was that we had a blue ribbon committee. And so there is no way that we're gonna move this commission forward unless that blue ribbon committee is involved. Because we had good people on there who were ready to keep going, right? I mean, that was.
I agree.
We're happy to pull
I
that
thought it
together.
was done, and so now
So
I'm
did
ready
all
to
of us.
jump back on it, and,
But sure would be nice to
obviously,
do it
we have
without
a new commissioner here that we need to
Right.
bring up to speed, and she's more than welcome to attend the meeting, but census is so fun.
We're lucky that Lorraine knows how all these, financial, things work. And so, the revenue sharing and Act 51 funding is vital to the city. $500,000 over the next 8 years or 10 years is a huge number. And so, yeah, that post-census, so and Mayor, we're just bringing this to you first. We know there's other steps we gotta do. We're gonna do them all, whether that's committee meetings, funding or dealing with the state agencies, continue to doing that, political things. But we feel like we may be headed towards a special census.
There's just no reason to count it again when it's already been decided that we have lost that many people. Why spend?
I hear you,
So,
yeah.
Given that this is likely going to take some time to resolve, one of the things I talked to Mark about was proactively going through the budget and looking for any more low-hanging fruit that there might be for budget savings from a yearly standpoint. Because what this comes down to is it's gonna be CIP funds, right?
Well, yeah, and
But then-
I mean, a whole bunch of this can happen concurrently, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
We will
I just-
absolutely find ways to trim the budget, which we're already doing. The problem we have is, and diligence is the key, and you folks dictate this, but time is of the essence to a certain degree too. And I mean, I think can you talk a little bit, Michelle, about the application?
So it's a 9-page application, and we have to go through and tell them all the block groups we want and how many housing units we think they missed in each block group and group quarters, and then they review that application for 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll get it back to us with an estimate of the cost of doing the census. So they won't, I've reached out to them a little bit, and they won't even talk to me about the cost until we fill out that application.
What does that cost to apply?
It doesn't cost anything to apply. And then once they give us that estimate, we have 90 days to act on moving forward if we want to.
So they're gonna approve the application, tell us the amount of money, then we got 90 days.
Make
That'll
a
go
decision.
fast.
Oh, yeah.
So are we ready? And how long do we have to get the application in?
They don't cut you
no-
off
there's no
until
cutoff?
27,
Yeah, it's, yeah.
2027.
So does it make sense to be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, if this gets corrected, will they make it retroactive?
No.
I don't think we
As
know.
far as the funding that we have lost, there won't be anything,
Everything I've
it'll
read.
just be forward.
Yeah, cause from what I can tell, they don't update the 2020 census. They update your population estimates moving forward.
Right now today.
Which is so weird because that's what they say the post-census thing does. We would have to hear from the state that they will actually recognize. I mean, there's a whole bunch of steps that we're gonna have to
So you
do.
do the recensus and you
Right.
still can't get it from the Census Bureau of the state?
Because the Census Bureau
Yeah.
says,
Same
I
problem.
emailed them asking if then this would
Yes.
work
Right.
for money, and they said, well, we can't answer that question.
It's a big problem.
Maybe the demographer will really help us, cause she helped us get the quarters.
She's
figured out.
great, yeah, I think we're gonna, next week's meeting's vital.
And
We
if
just
that
didn't,
fails,
we needed to bring this to you, so, I mean, this thing's churning and
So, let's say, cause it's gonna take time to figure it out once we get the cost. Let's say we don't have enough information to make what we feel like is a good decision. And we're forced to just let the 90 days go. Does that mean we can't apply again? We can apply again, the cost might change.
You can reapply. That's good to know.
When you apply, do they give you any indication on whether you're gonna have a favorable
Just 3
outcome?
weeks.
I don't think that they deny you from doing another census. But I guess if you don't have good reasoning.
So then you can tell which blocks on this little map here that you want them to count?
So you have two.
Doesn't have to be the whole city
You
again?
have two options, so you can do the entire city, or you can do a certain track, which the only track, so all the track is where all the block groups are contained. So the city has 5 census tracks, but none of them are full except for the one that is Ferris. Ferris is a track in itself. The other ones are all partial tracks, cause some of them have parts in Big Rapids Township. It's great fun.
So their cost is based on that.
So
it's
you
basically
can either do the entire city, or we could choose the Ferris track, because that track is 100% contained in our limits, and you can choose any of the contiguous blocks next to it.
That's almost 2,000, that's 1,900, right in the
Right.
Ferris track.
So you couldn't get the 137, cause that's, I don't know if they would count going up and over as being contiguous.
Yeah, like the 776.
I haven't found what is their definition.
On Wednesday,
Yeah.
we'll get back to all the commissioners and say, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna keep bringing this to you, and we're working hard on it.
The first thing I asked Mark was, why did it take so long to bring it to us if it's from July? Well, they were late making the July, you help me, Carla or Lorraine, the July data is pays you
We get
in August, but they missed the August payment.
Actually, it was in October, we got the
But
July.
you missed one because they were, what was that?
They're always late on
They're always
payments.
late.
So
They're always behind. I mean, it's just
So,
the way it works.
so it wasn't like Mark was withholding
No.
it, they just hadn't gotten around to paying
They
anybody.
pay every other month, so the July and August payment we received in October. And that's when we're like.
That's when you first saw, they
nothing's
saw, oh,
changed.
the money
Yeah.
not there,
Yeah,
nothing
it's- so
changed.
it's like, oh.
That's why it took a while, but.
Yes, yeah, good, thank you.
Second
for
payment has
bringing
come
that
in for the next?
Yeah, they've.
That was the,
That,
yeah.
that one came in quite a bit after, it must be. but
Mhm.
It's a huge frustration, but it's worth, I mean, it's a huge amount of money to the city. And especially.
$500 a year?
$500,000 annually. Yeah.
We could cut the lawyer.
He's out of here.
Well, it's another nuclear option there.
Since there isn't a fee for the application at some point, I think we need to look at filing the application to see what the cost would be. Once you have the cost, if you know what it's gonna cost you, then maybe you can do an analysis.
Well, you can't really make an intelligent decision until you know what the cost
I
is.
know,
Right,
you don't
yeah,
know.
right, so,
And if we're
yeah.
gonna lose $500,000 a year, the cost isn't gonna be great compared to $500,000. I can just sit here and tell you that right now.
There's no guarantee you're gonna win.
Well, I know, but
Cost range in 2010 for all of the cities that did a special census was 113,000 to 14 million.
And that was based
Those are off on that
And
census.
they base it on number how many housing units. They don't tell you any, this is just the range.
Yeah.
And we all volunteer to
It's-
count.
I mean, it's gonna be, I mean, that's the mayor's point's well taken. It's gonna be a significant number, but how do you know until you know what the number is? How do
Right, you need the
know?
number
Yeah,
to
you need the number.
decide.
So we're in session, we can vote to have her put the application in. I don't have any problem with entertaining that motion.
I think it's a
Anybody
smart
wanna make a
move.
motion? Nobody?
Do we need it in a resolution?
Well, that's
Or
a
do
good
we
question.
just need to direct the?
They would have to
Well, she has to,
apply.
she has to
Yeah.
have permission from somebody. to
Well,
say
our
it.
next meeting is
Well, it's
the
just a,
4th.
isn't it just a direction from us to Mark to her?
Yeah, right.
Good with me.
I need a
Okay with that.
signature from
We'll get it.
I
We'll
think
get
that's
it
what
done.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, the direction would be, in the case of, it would be, you do that by motion, so that you get clear direction. If you wanted, if the requirement was that you need to have a resolution from the
I just
city,
need a letter.
then you don't need that. So then, yeah, a motion would be sufficient, and then Mark could draft the letter and have the
Sure.
board sign.
Anybody move to direct the administration to pursue application for a recount?
So move. Support.
It's a motion and a second. Any questions? Better do that by roll call.
All right. James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Simmon,
Yes.
Epley.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Good, you got what you need?
We do.
Anybody else
Appreciate
have
it.
comments?
Good work, Michelle.
I am purpose when you said support,
hour long we had with the parliamentarian that one of them's gonna come up and talk to us was never say motion and support, because if you say support, that means you support it. You can second it without supporting it. So she said, never use support. I've been saying it my whole life. So now,
That's what I learned.
Yeah, that's
it's
what.
wrong. And
So it's
she'll
second.
climb right up on you second.
Good point. Good
That
point.
part,
Yeah, I know you, yes,
it's a great hour.
I
We
understand
will all
that.
learn a lot of new things when the parliamentarian comes,
Yeah.
'cause I've heard her speak too.
I cannot wait.
There's something else.
Okay, I just
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
ask this
Yes,
question.
we're on,
Why did we end up having to do a resolution?
we didn't
We
have.
didn't, we did a
We just
motion,
did a
so the city commission only acts.
Oh,
to-
it's no resolution, it was
No.
just a
No.
motion.
Right.
Just a motion.
Cause I need a letter
To
from
direct
the
her, and Mark
highest.
gives her.
Yeah, I mean, the city commission can't direct anything unless they do so by a vote, which requires a motion or a resolution or an ordinance. And so those are the three ways that you can act and do something as a city commission.
Thank you.
Motion is the most informal.
You skipped unscheduled business.
Oh, that's what we were just talking about.
No, you weren't.
What, do you have any?
I have
He
a
does.
couple things, Mayor, when you're ready.
Jeez.
Are you
Are
ready?
you gonna put a new pavilion in at the?
Boomer died.
Oh
Many of you
no.
saw that. Boomer died.
I did not see that.
26 years old. Boomer is our favorite.
You fired him.
No, he didn't. He works at the water plant.
No, you fired Boomer.
No, he died.
He went to the farm upstate.
Way upstate.
Great retirement.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
return.
Oh,
Um,
mercy.
Lou Bender got a hold of me. So many of you know Lou. The city's worked with him before. He's done strategic planning work for the city. So the theory at one time was the city commission work together, develop a strategic plan that guides the formation of the budget, the CIP process, those types of things, which happen in February, March, April. We adopt the budget in June, May or June. And so he knew that timing. He called, said, he's gonna be traveling around, interested in doing some work for us, if we're interested in having him. Go backwards in that Lou worked with a previous commission, and then I was asked last year, I believe, to see if anybody else could do some of the work. I contacted a lady who was in Traverse City. She quoted something like $8,000 or $10,000. I had also simultaneously been working with a guy named Lou Rabot, another Lou. He worked with, he's done some leadership work with city staff, and so I knew about him or knew him. And he was developing a proposal, but then he works for the law firm that represents Goshen, and he couldn't do it because of that conflict. But that his quote to me, because I asked him, what kind of money are we talking about? His was more like $15,000. The way we have done strategic planning with Lou Bender has been more like $2,000 and one night's worth of work. These other folks, I think, had multiple sessions and just different processes in how they developed their strategic plan. I'm just trying to, I think, there's an interest from staff in hearing collectively from the city commission on, projects, goals, ideas that you want us to carry forward. And that's been one way we've done that. How interested are you in me pursuing this, working with Lou Bender, working with others? I guess I'm, what's your thoughts?
Commissioners.
A while ago, we started talking about strategic planning in a work session, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had some follow-up items for it where we wanted to put together our outcomes for a strategic plan so that we could go out and get proposals from firms or guide ourselves through the process of doing what is more of a strategic plan than I think what we've done in the past with Lou Bender. I've been busy, we've been busy, we've had a lot going on. I haven't really done anything. Last time we talked about this, there was kind of a lot of head nodding that we might wanna try something different. Whether that's a different approach or a new consultant. That was my takeaway from it. And I'm still of the opinion that we want to try something new in a different path. For what it's worth.
My turn?
Oh, your turn.
I've sat through a number of sessions with him, being on the city commission as long as I was, and I think he's very valuable, and I think he's really good getting everybody to attempt to work together. And I like the way he breaks them up in groups, and I like what we get out of it, and especially for the cost, I don't think it's excessive. I would not be opposed, is what I'm trying to say. I don't have any issue bringing him back.
Amanda?
I also recall from our former commission setting how there was a lot of discussion over wanting a new process to be in place, something that would be more effective. As I haven't sat through one of those sessions before for the strategic planning, I am open to the process, but I do want to make sure that when we have that meeting, it is productive. So we're not wasting the city's funds or the staff's time. We're being productive, getting the job done of planning for our strategy going forward. So I'm open to both going with Lou or finding a new consultant. But I do remember that it seemed like there was a discussion and we had thought to go with somebody new.
John?
Excuse me. I would kind of echo what Amanda, Commissioner Johnson just said. Open to the idea of looking into new consultants, but I also appreciate what Lou Bender has done for us, and he is the most cost effective in terms of being fiscally responsible. So it doesn't hurt to look around, but at the same time, yeah, Lou did a good job, and I like that it was one night for us. And I got kids at home. I'm taking night school, so I mean, my time is valuable to me.
Sure. I'm in favor of a new strategic initiative, but I don't want to spend $15,000 to do it, and we're spending $80,000 to do the master plan. I mean, we're getting a little over the top with money. That's my worry. So I'm in favor of doing a strategic plan, whether you use Lou. If you put it out for request for proposal, you're gonna spend more than $2,000. So this commission has to decide how high do you wanna go for a consultant? Or should we do it ourselves?
Well, and what's our time frame?
Well, I mean, timeframe is, the budget process really ramps up in February, March. So if we had something, in that window, that would be helpful as an organization to be able to draw from.
Okay.
If we wait past then, the budget for the year's done. I mean, what about if I call Lou, which, given the costs and so forth, and schedule that, and then we have time, a year or more to see, and everybody's been through the same thing, and we could say, okay, you know what, we all have seen the same thing, we want to do something different, now we have more time to plan. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
You have a session with Lou, and what comes out of it is not what we wished we had. I think this 5-member commission can pound out a strategic plan. There's enough brain power on the 5 of us that we could probably do it.
Well, we could do that too, Mayor.
That was the path we talked about before, and
Pound it
we
out,
just
do it
got
ourselves if we had to.
really, really busy, and I hated to add another work session when we had a
Yes.
bunch of them, so.
I'm happy, I mean,
I would like to do it, if we do it, I'd like to do it as a separate thing like we did in the 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, do it over there at the fire building. If somebody wants to come and listen, they come and listen, but.
Well, why
it
don't we
just
try
seems-
that? Why don't you if you're open to that? I mean, I'm certainly open to that. I mean, you always know more if you live further away, right? I mean, it's that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, we know what we want. It's just some facilitation of that, which we thought we needed in the past. I mean,
If we're just gonna do the flip chart thing like we always do,
yeah.
that's where I.
Well, why don't we
think
just
it fails.
dedicate a night to doing it, and we'll come up with a plan of how to facilitate it.
Well, I always hate to put city staff in a position where they're guessing what we want. And,
Yeah.
and that's where, I would be in favor of just taking one work session ourselves, 20 minutes or whatever, to brainstorm some ideas for what we want for the strategic plan. And if Mark and his staff feel comfortable moving forward, then yes, Mayor, like you said, bang it out in a special meeting Monday
Why
night.
don't we just do a special meeting?
And you don't wanna plan to make a plan, Mayor?
No, I don't wanna plan.
I know you don't like that.
No, I don't, it's my meeting.
So, well then, I guess
Why don't we
what,
just do it over there and just pound it out with us and
I would
have
be-
pizza and be done?
I would be
And
in
have a-
favor of that. I just wanna make sure Mark and his staff.
Yes, well,
Mark, I think your main staff has to come like they did last
oh,
time.
yeah.
Tammy,
All the direct reports.
I know, the directors.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
We'll
we
put
have a
something
free
together. We'll try to
option
do it
and then we have a
internally.
backup
Do you
if
want
the
Lou
free
there
option.
to be a referee? I don't need him there.
Let's try it on our own.
Yeah, you could try.
We
it,
can
and if
always
it doesn't
call
work, then you get Lou.
Well, you need some kind of facility.
Yeah, that'll have to be Michelle or I or
Yeah,
something.
somebody,
We'll
I
come
don't
up
care
with
who
something.
does it,
Yeah.
but somebody has to facilitate a meeting like that. You can't just say, we're gonna get together, come up with all these ideas.
No, I know.
That's
I
not
know.
gonna work,
You gotta
folks.
make a plan to make a
We're
plan.
Kathy might do it.
Whoa.
What else you got, Mark?
That's
You
it,
got
no.
your marching orders there?
I got them, thank you.
Oh, shoot.
What's next on your list of?
Nothing.
Do you have any Thanksgiving proclamations?
We don't have a.
No
a
turkey
Gotta
Pardon.
just say, the
pardon.
Michigan Association of Mayors meeting, there were like 8 sessions or something, were the best I have ever been to.
You didn't wanna go, Mayor.
I know, and it was absolutely fabulous. They had an old city attorney whose specialty is municipal law, that knew the answer to every question. And that guy,
Who's the guy who came?
no,
I was gonna say, was his name Eric Williams?
no, but he and Eric are friends, they were on the board of the
Oh, I'm sure.
Municipal Lawyer Association. And the parliamentarian was, we make a lot of mistakes.
That's why we use the Roberts rules as a guide.
Yeah, it's a guy. She has them memorized. Anything else, anyone? Ms. Jennings?
Oh, goodness. Michelle, you're gonna be